Something big might be brewing in Chicago, and it could change everything. The Bears might be ready to make a bold move that could completely transform their defense. Rumors are heating up, and one name has suddenly caught everyone's attention, a name that could send shockwaves through the entire NFL. Before we dive into this explosive update, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and hit that bell icon so you never miss out on the latest Bears news. Now, let's get into it. As teams start shaping their identity for the 2025 season, the Chicago Bears are once again in the spotlight, and this time, it's for a potentially massive move on defense. Reports are swirling that the Bears are showing serious interest in Jeffery Simmons, the dominant defensive lineman from the Tennessee Titans. The Titans' season isn't going as planned, and with signs pointing toward a rebuild, Simmons could be on the move and Chicago might just be his next destination. Simmons isn't just any player. He's a three-time Pro Bowler, a true force on the field who's been terrorizing offensive lines since his debut. Standing at 6 feet 4 inches and weighing 305 pounds, Simmons is built like a wrecking machine, a rare mix of power, speed, and technique. Whether it's stopping the run or collapsing the pocket, this guy does it all. At just 28 years old, he's in the prime of his career, with 3 years still left on his current contract. Drafted 19th overall by the Titans in 2019 after an incredible run at Mississippi State, Simmons has proven year after year that he's one of the most disruptive interior defenders in football. And if the Bears can somehow pull this off, bringing Simmons to Chicago, it could instantly turn their defensive front into one of the most feared in the league. But that's not all, because if this deal even has a chance of happening, the Bears would need to make some major moves behind the scenes. So, what would it actually take to land Jeffery Simmons in Chicago? Let's break that down next. Jeffery Simmons has spent his entire career with the Tennessee Titans, and his numbers tell the story of pure dominance. Over the years, he's piled up 323 total tackles, with 190 of those solo. That's a man who doesn't wait for help, he finishes plays on his own. Add to that 33.5 sacks, and you realize how rare it is for an interior lineman to create that kind of pressure from the middle. But it doesn't stop there. 73 quarterback hits, 24 pass deflections, 6 forced fumbles, and 6 recoveries. 24 deflections from a defensive tackle? That's insane. It shows just how disruptive Simmons can be. Not only does he crash the pocket, but he reads the quarterback, gets his hands up, and shuts down passing lanes before the ball even leaves the arm. Think back to the Bears' struggles against the Raiders, when Max Crosby was wrecking plays left and right. Now imagine Chicago having that same kind of disruption, but coming from inside the line. Simmons may be slightly smaller than Gervon Dexter, but he's far more explosive and polished. His ability to both pressure the quarterback and bat down passes would completely change how opposing offenses play against the Bears. And that's exactly why this rumor started catching fire. Gilberto Manzano of Sports Illustrated first links Simmons to the Bears, noting how his arrival would instantly elevate Chicago's defense, a unit still searching for consistent pass rushers and strong run stoppers. Pairing Simmons with Montez Sweat could give Chicago one of the most dangerous defensive duos in the NFC. For years, the Bears' defense has carried the weight, often fighting without enough support. But if Simmons walks into Hallis Hall, everything about this defense could change overnight. But hold on, before we dream too big, there's one burning question: what would the Bears have to give up to actually make this deal happen? Let's find out in the next part. It's strange how things have flipped for the Bears this season. Just as the offense finally begins to find its rhythm, the defense seems to be slipping. And that's exactly where someone like Jeffery Simmons could bring balance back to Chicago's identity. The Bears can't afford to step back now. If there's ever a time to make a bold move, this is it. The truth is, this team is better than many people give it credit for. The potential is there, the talent, the energy, the hunger. What's missing is a force in the middle who can take over games and make everyone around him better. And Simmons fits that role perfectly. Chicago still has some flexibility with the salary cap, and a few smart adjustments could open up just enough room to bring in a player who could dominate for the next few seasons. And if anyone doubts whether Simmons still has it, just look at his 2025 stats so far. On a struggling Titans team, he's already recorded 14 tackles, with 10 solo, 2 sacks in 4 games, 7 quarterback hits, a pass deflection, and a forced fumble. That's impact even without much help around him. Now imagine him lined up alongside Gervon Dexter, Andrew Billings, Grady Jarrett, and Montez Sweat. That's not just a defensive line, that's a wall of chaos. And sometimes, it only takes one player to unlock the full potential of a unit. one dominant force that sets off a chain reaction. Simmons could be that domino, the spark that turns a struggling defense into a nightmare for opposing quarterbacks. But as exciting as that sounds, there's one huge question still hanging in the air: what would it actually cost Chicago to make this happen? Coming up next, we'll dig into the real challenge: what kind of trade package and salary hit the Bears might have to face if they truly go after Jeffery Simmons. Now let's talk about the big question everyone's asking: what would it actually take to bring Jeffery Simmons to Chicago? The truth is, a player of his caliber doesn't come cheap. Simmons still has 3 years left on his contract, and he's earning an average of $25.1 million per year. That's a massive commitment for any team, and right now, the Bears don't quite have that kind of cap space sitting around. But here's where things get interesting. Chicago can open up room. With a few smart restructures and salary adjustments, they could make it work. Simmons is owed about $75.3 million over the next 3 seasons, with a big $28 million hit coming in his final year. On paper, that sounds steep, but there's a catch that makes it more manageable. If things somehow didn't go as planned, the Bears would have an out after next season. Releasing him then would save roughly $23.5 million in cap space. And that timing perfectly aligns with the contracts of Grady Jarrett and Dio, meaning Chicago could clear close to $60 million if they reshuffle wisely. That kind of flexibility gives them serious options for rebuilding or reloading the defense even further down the road. As of now, the Bears are sitting with around $8.2 million in available cap space, not enough to pull this off immediately, but close enough that the front office could start laying the groundwork if they believe Simmons is the missing piece. Because let's face it, opportunities like this don't come around often. When a player like Jeffery Simmons is even possibly available, teams with big ambitions have to think bold, but the real question isn't just about money, it's about value. What kind of trade would it take to convince the Titans to actually let go of their star defender? Let's find out next. And now, let's talk about how a possible deal could actually come together, because this isn't just any trade, it's a big money move that would require precision and guts from the Bears front office. The difference in salary between what the Bears can offer and what Simmons earns is roughly $17 million. That's a huge gap, but not impossible to close. Chicago has a few contracts that could make the math work almost perfectly. Here's where it gets interesting. Imagine a deal structured around players whose contracts balance out the books. In this case, Dio, who's owed around $16.5 million, and Shamar Turner, with just over $1 million on his deal, could be the perfect match. Those numbers together nearly equal Simmons' cap hit, meaning the Bears could make a move without completely breaking their financial structure. If Chicago pulled this off, they wouldn't just be getting Jeffery Simmons, they'd also bring in a young pass rusher in Dio and a promising talent like Turner, both of whom could benefit from a change of scenery. The Bears would need to make a few contract restructures to create more room, but it's absolutely doable if the front office believes this is the move that elevates them into true contender territory. Of course, the Titans would likely want draft compensation too, and that's where things get real. If Chicago wanted to simplify it, they could offer Dio plus a second-round pick, or even a first-rounder straight up for Simmons. It's a steep price, but sometimes greatness comes with a cost. And if losing Dio sounds like too much, think again. He hasn't made the kind of impact the team hoped for, and with Austin Booker returning from injury, plus the upcoming draft, the Bears will have opportunities to strengthen that edge position again soon. This trade wouldn't just be about filling a hole, it would be about changing the identity of the defense. And if Ryan Poles believes Simmons is the key to unlocking that potential, this could be the kind of bold swing that defines a season, but how realistic is it? Could the Bears actually pull off a blockbuster like this, or is it just another dream that fades when the numbers hit the table? Let's dive into that next. If there's one weakness that's haunted the Bears this season, it's been the interior of the defensive line. Teams have been running right through the middle, and we all saw how badly that hurt them against the Raiders. That's why a player like Jeffery Simmons isn't just a want, he's a need. Adding Simmons would completely reshape how opposing offenses attack the Bears. His presence alone would force teams to adjust their blocking schemes, freeing up the rest of Chicago's front seven to finally play to their strengths. When one man can command double teams and still find his way to the quarterback, that's the kind of game changer who turns weaknesses into weapons. Now, if the Bears could swing a deal involving Dio and Turner, it would make sense for both sides. Chicago clears some underperforming contracts, while Tennessee gets younger talent with room to grow. The Titans would gain flexibility by moving off a big deal and adding players still on rookie contracts. Meanwhile, the Bears would finally get a player who brings immediate production and leadership. Of course, a move like this might still require adding a draft pick, maybe a second rounder or even a future first. But honestly, if it means landing a proven star in his prime who can transform your defense from average to elite, that's a trade worth making every single time. This potential deal isn't just about filling a roster spot, it's about sending a message that Chicago is done waiting. Done rebuilding. Ready to compete. The Bears have the cap flexibility, the assets, and the ambition. All that's left is the move that turns talk into action. And with reports already linking Jeffery Simmons to Chicago, the question isn't if this happens, it's how close the Bears really are to pulling the trigger, because if Ryan Poles actually finds a way to bring Jeffery Simmons to Chicago, this defense won't just improve, it'll be feared again. And that's the kind of story every Bears fan has been waiting to see unfold.